I dare say neither one is super stoked about it, but you got to start running into the big dogs sooner rather than later here, I think, when you start hitting this like 2-1 score. Anyhow, starting over in the top right-hand side on Heck 8, it is Zai Zai. Or do you call him XY?
I just call him XY. He's only called XY because you can't have a 2-letter name.
Oh, okay. Hence TYTY.
Hence TYTY. Hence Ayasonu, because Ayasonu was actually only originally called IA.
Got ya.
All of the knowledge bombs. Today is in the bottom left. We have our blue Brawlers player. This is going to be nice as we get into this PvT. And I think you're right. You know, on a good day, I think these guys could really go out and take it all. You know, we saw XY. He got competitive with Oliveira yesterday. You know, those games were not easy for Oliveira by any stretch. You know, if he made it through, like, there's a chance, right? Like, it's maybe not like the kind of guy I'd pick every single time. It would have to be a good run. But that's the potential that each of these guys have. And, you know, you said it right as well. Like, neither of them are going to be happy to be playing the other. But, you know, in these last few days of group stages, no one's going to be happy to be playing anyone. Because it really does get to the toughest part where the most evenly matched players are going to be left. And, yeah, it's your last chances. And, you know, these are where the last couple of spots for playoffs are snagged by players.
Absolutely. Start off this game, Nice has gone for a very, very standard build. He didn't go for the gateway and cybernetics core atop the ramp. Now, on this map, he has got to scout as well, sees a double gas opening from XY, which does mean a very quick factory. And he keeps this probe around for long enough here that he's like, all right, you pulled the guys off gas as well. That means it's most likely just going to be a very standard CC build afterwards. You've just gone for a very safe opening, and that makes you comfortable. Will he get this recall off in time? That actually stings quite a bit, you know. Yeah. That stings quite a lot. I love the fact that XY kept the SCV on it just to make sure that he's, what's the word? Getting a little bit of damage to help with the Reaper. So that was really smart by him.
Just guarantees the Reaper shot is going to get the kill, because it might be that the recall goes off in that space between Reaper shot 2 and 3, which would have been the extra damage that the SCV dealt instead. So just good to get the SCV there, pick away at the probe. As our Adept is going to come shading down the natural. Reaper is hopping around for a little bit and is now going to move into this main base. And it's going to start going after a few probes. And obviously, most importantly, just scouting. And he does see the Stargate, so XY gets some good information to begin with. On his way to some Hellions, we'll see what else is on his mind for the opening of this game.
Absolutely. So double Hellion. So he made the reactor on it. Like, I'm curious if it's going to be a lot more Hellions afterwards. Okay, 2 Hellions, 2 Widowmines. Like, this is definitely a cool opening by him, and I don't know if that Adept would... I thought maybe the Adept would go for the kill on the Reaper just to kind of, you know, sort it out, but he does get a big old scout there, perfectly timed, that he could still go up the ramp, see the reactor on there, so he knows that his opponent having that reactor on there means he's going to go for economic damage. I mean, he could potentially go for 2 Cyclones as well these days, but usually Widowmines, Hellions, now he gets confirmation again and makes this all very awkward, and getting his own Oracle out. So far, I'm liking Nice's play a lot this game, man. He's playing very smart and cool and just being annoying, but going to take damage back at home, Wardy.
Yeah, if a couple of Hellions get in, there's a cool little Adept trick there, but then the Hellions get in, not going to do too much themselves. A couple of probes, yes, but now being cleaned up, so this seems to be the end of the problems. And we will get to move on from it as the Oracle comes across the map. There's not a lot of anti-air because he's been setting off the Widow Mines with the Adepts. Thankfully, a Viking shows up. He just about gets himself the Widow Mine kill, but then the Viking is going to force that Oracle away, so XY was prepared enough. And he's really bringing the pressure, though. Like, he's clearly coming out and saying, hey, I'm not making this game easy for you, you know? Like, you're going to have to work for it a little bit here for sure. And, yeah, so far it feels as though XY is just about avoiding, you know, severe damage.
Yeah, I like it. It's nice that he had those shield batteries, and these Adepts so far have been good against every unit that he's been making with that massive extra damage to light.
Yep, as the double Oracle heads to the upper right-hand side, going to be getting into the main base. Revelation goes down to tag up a couple of units and structures. Meanwhile, the Cyclone is going to be popping out. And yeah, the Void Ray is a really interesting one. I wonder if he's afraid of, like, something that tries to punish a Stargate opening, like a little Cyclone Viking Marine push. But then with the Void Ray, if it just activates Prismatic, the Cyclone is going to absolutely melt. Void Rays will, you know, then push back Vikings too. It's different. Maybe just, like I say, a bit of sturdiness in case XY does get very aggressive.
I think so. I think the fact that he didn't take too much damage from this aggro opening, maybe he's just kind of like, you know, thinking, oh my goodness, what's actually going on down over here? And just when you have limited production, try and use every production facility you have. I think you're absolutely right, but we know that it isn't the case, and honestly, if I see my opponent has a Void Ray and I'm not planning a push, I'm pretty okay with that, Wardy. I mean, like, obviously it's different types of TVP, and the Cyclone is a very, very different beast. Maybe Nice is lost against something that looked very similar to this in the past. You don't know.
Yeah, no, it's very true, as we do just send those Adepts forward, and I mean, maybe even in some scenarios he actually finds aggression with this Void Ray. I don't think he'll find anything here. There's too many Marines, too much support in the terms of the anti-air, although it's all in the low ground, so the Oracles will dive into this mineral line. There's a couple of SCVs easily grabbed here, 3, 4 now. There's actually going to be pretty serious damage,
Wow.
and finally one Viking comes across to deal with this, but that took a long time. 8 workers going down, and those Oracles have a field day.
That was surprisingly slow reacting by XY, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just looking. He had his army in his natural. It really... And Nice sees everything, by the way. This observer that he had in the natural was just going ham vision-wise. But XY, he's not super down and out just yet. He has a very serious timing here. Like, Stim, Combat Shields +1 on the way. Army supply very close overall. And remember, it's like a Void Ray and Oracles. Like, they aren't the best battle units in a straight-up fight, whereas nearly every unit that XY has right now is meant to kill you. It's made to kill you, isn't it? And he's got a third making, but right now, Nice wants to keep the Terran away from him, I feel, because, yeah, his army right now is very brittle.
Yep, if this Terran army like stims in across the map, it's force fields, right? That's what you're relying on. You're very late to blink. You really don't have anything, actually. Like, his army kind of does suck, and a lot of the time, honestly, that is just Stargate into Blink in a nutshell. It's like, your army looks terrible, and you really have to, like, just about survive, which maybe would be the case this time. 6 SCVs going down, Vikings and the Medivacs coming back around the right-hand side. I just hate how many SCVs XY has lost. He's going to send it, but can you imagine he did all of this with all of the workers he lost in this game alive? If he just was slightly better against the Oracles, he might actually come and end this game.
Yeah, those two Oracles have 15 SCV kills between them, and now they kind of look like, we've done enough, we might as well just give it up, right? I mean, that definitely was not good by Nice, for sure, but yeah, the damage that they've done, absolutely worth it, and Nice can be like, you know what? Even if they did die, 15 kills, totally worth it. And Nice has so many sentries for hallucinations and God knows what behind this, and XY is just... He's kind of stuck, I feel. Like, he's on a portion of the map where Nice does not have to worry whatsoever, and he's in his comfort zone. He's in his element. He's getting a second forge. He feels that comfortable, and yeah, this game just feels very strange to me.
Yeah, it's I'm kind of with you. Like, it honestly feels like XY's done a terrible job of defending, and XY should just be able to come across and kill Nice, but then he never did. And even still, like, look at it now, like, I still don't feel like I'm convinced by what Nice has. You know, and it's been such a long time, like, he's been so exposed. If XY pulled the trigger at any point, I genuinely feel like Nice would have been in a lot of trouble. And maybe that moment is still to come right now, as we might have a second Immortal. We're still just so reliant on these sentries and their force fields. If these force fields aren't absolutely perfect, then Nice is potentially going to die. I mean, he is in the right position. He'll put the force fields down immediately. He clearly knows that they're going to be important, and he does knock some Widow Mines down as well, so nicely done there.
Yeah, I mean, Nice's defense so far has been good, but he hasn't really been pushed, has he? And just the constant trickle of little units here, there, and everywhere. Like, now we've got some actual charge lots, not just slow zealots dealing a little bit of damage. But how many workers have died this game? 19.
Yeah.
19. And, you know, there's no real super tech in his army either. In fact, let's have a look. He's got 2 Vikings, 4 Medivacs. He's gone for 2-2 before getting the Ghost out, which is... I feel that's very old, because Terran's very much learnt that getting the Ghost Academy before the Armory for the 2-2 is often a lot more scary, but XY hasn't hit any of the timings that Terran has available to them, and look, Nice. I feel like Nice is just so comfortable, man. He hasn't had to worry about anything this game. Like, yeah, I'm so shocked. Nice Widowmine connections, though.
Yeah, those Widow Mines are great, but I'm with you, man. Like, for how greedy Nice his build was and how little he really had in his army, he is extremely low. I honestly do not believe that Nice would have survived if any sort of fight happened, or even if we dropped in the main base and then tried to push elsewhere, because like his army was so reliant on force fields. So if you just do anything to force those sentries out of position, probably also going to be a massive issue. But XY just really refused to do anything in this game, and I mean, now he's really on the worst end of it, because now Nice has good upgrades finishing. He's got his first Colossus out. Tech is just generally much further along. He's getting the Archons ready. You mentioned 2-2 before Ghost Academy. That's not normal. Usually you do focus on the tech before you go into those 2-2 upgrades, because the Terran just needs EMPs. Viking Camp becomes very important as well. Upgrades don't necessarily do much for you, as these Elds get in. They do way too much damage as well, and it's weird because I want to say the Nice is playing a better game, but I feel like he's been in a much worse position the entire time. He's just not gone punished for it.
It's really weird. Like, 37 SCVs have died this game, and XY has done, like, this army, if there was like a heat map of what it's done, I literally feel it's done circles in the middle of the map. Like,
It's actually so true.
I hate to be like hypercritical, but his supply, he's constantly being a good 10-15 supply ahead, which is really weird despite losing so much eco. And it just shows how big his army has been getting. But, you know, like, I'm so confused, Wardy. This is the kind of game that I can feel myself being, like, in the Terran shoes, where I'm, like, so scared. But it's like, what you're scared of? Like, these little run-bys that have somehow dealt so much damage because your army's not been in the right place one time, that it's been caught between, do I defend, do I attack? And doing nothing, like being undecisive, is one of the most dangerous things you can do in StarCraft 2. And, you know, his army is, credit to him, really freaking scary now. But because his economy's been very much wounded behind it, he does kind of only have one shot, so he has to make this work.
XY's like, man, this map's so complicated. Every time I move out, I end up back on my own base. Like, you know?
Actually, yeah, maybe he's just been getting lost. Like, a bit of a maze. But I do feel like he's just played so scared this game.
Yeah. Super timid, and it's happening again. He's like, he's moving across. He's like, okay, am I even going to check if I can fight? He's like, no, let's actually just pull back home. But what's he really pulling back home to? Like, time is almost always on a Protoss player's side, right? Like, if you give them time, they're going to benefit because they get more tech out. They will hit you with Zealots, which are very efficient, and replace it with better units in their army. You know, now we got Prison Speed, Dark Shrine coming up. These are things that Nice can afford because he's not had to think about replacing anything. It's not even that I would say XY maybe had a fight right there, but he didn't even check to see if he had a fight, right? Like, Nice scans over the left-hand side, and maybe finally we're actually going to see a stim. That might be the first stim of the game.
I think it is, and EMPs do land, and his army is pretty strong, but he's just getting melted. He's not really microing at all, and mate, what a build-up to this. I mean, XY's army, you can see that it was a very strong army, but Wardy, I don't know what to say.
Bro, the one time he should have actually just left because he's just super clumped and he gets surrounded, and he's like, no, this is the time we fight. I was just laughing because it was like, you're right, we had all of this build-up. XY's been moving around, like, you know, all game long, backing off, deciding. And he's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to sit here, you know, in the middle of this area where pros are coming in from the right, the left, and I'm not even going to split my units. I'm just going to stim and let everything die. It was such a strange game from XY. If he'd done that at any other point, 5 minutes prior, probably wins the game.
You know what's also funny? Like, sorry to interrupt you. What's also funny, I was like, okay, is he waiting for a timing here? Like, this is the 200 supply timing, but he literally attacked right before his 3-3 was finishing as well. So it's like, none of that game makes sense to me at all. Like, it was by far and away, like, XY he looked scared, and he was so scared about crossing the map or doing anything. Like, I've very rarely seen a game with somebody that I think is a pretty good player just get so lost in the game. Like, I don't know what was going through his mind, but it had to be he was very either nervous or just super timid, because I've gone through phases as well in my StarCraft 2 career where I can look at a matchup and just kind of feel a little bit hopeless in a sense. Like, I almost stopped looking for an answer, in that I'm like, he's stronger here, stronger there, he's stronger later. And you know, that kind of thing. And I just feel that XY was in that kind of phase here, that the build was a bit off in that, yeah, we talked about the ghost thing with the tech. It just, he's lost confidence somewhere. I hope that he can make something happen in this next game and just show me something totally different, because that was absolutely not it, Wardy. Absolutely wasn't.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe he just took so much damage off the oracles, he's like, oh, surely I don't have any way to fight. But then if he just gets any amount of info, even if he just tried, and he's like, assesses the situation, like, oh, actually, maybe I could, like, and that's when you take, like, it's all well and good making assumptions, but it's also good to follow up on those assumptions as well, because in this case, I think whatever his assumptions were completely wrong, and he just never saw Nice's army to truly recognize that he was actually in a great spot, so... yeah, that was a very interesting game start to finish from my Red Terran player. In the bottom left, now down a map. This is XY.
And spawning over in the top left as our blue Protoss, it is Nice.
One map away from playoffs. Nice, definitely a player we expect to see in playoffs. He was there last season, got knocked down in that round of 8, but obviously the kind of guy who won Taiwan, you know, season after season when it was more split up in Asia. And definitely expecting to still have a splash here in the Asia scene now that these regions are combined.
Yeah, I mean, Nice is a good player. He's one of the more well-known players to the Western audience here, given that you know he's hard taken in a lot of things. At this point, he's a bit of a veteran from that region. XY very much more in the Chinese circle, in that yeah, it mainly partakes. I think I've seen him abroad maybe a couple of times. I know, like, I saw him at one of the WESGs, but that was also in China. So he's a solid player. He's definitely been one of the guys that has been like top 3 in the Chinese scene before. But that showing was not up to his level, I feel. Granted, could be nerves. We'll get to see a different game from him here, as he is going for 1-Rax expand. And sometimes going back to something you're more comfortable with, familiar with, can help out a lot.
It's kind of funny as well, because if you actually know XY and what he likes to do, like, usually he's the cheeky, cheesy kind of Terran player, right? Who likes to fight, who likes to get across the map and get into engagements, and so even funnier that he was so adverse to it in that previous game. And yeah, now here we are, like, what a tale we've been on. What a time that we've had. As a factory comes up, refinery on the way, command center and an SCV or so coming through as we get ourselves built up and ready to rumble for a first few moments as we get off and away here. Game number 2. Probe being scouting. SCV, sorry, Reaper is going to come out and scout a little bit as well. He did not go across the map with an SCV early, as that Stargate and the Nexus continue on in.
Yeah, it's always tough to pick yourself up to cast after a game like that, isn't it? Yeah, just because of
like
how it went down.
I don't mean to like it might seem kind of bad, like, you know, the engagement happened, I just kind of laughed, but like it is almost one of those more comical moments where it's like, you know, we've been kind of just wanting XY to fight and to fight and to fight, and then the one time he does fight is like, it's just the worst possible way you can do it. Like, so he couldn't really script this to be more kind of, you know, well, silly, really, and it was a little bit silly. I mean, you just watch the fight, and he's just got a blob of bio sitting there in Colossus Fire. Some games just be like that, though, you know, sometimes that's the... I mean, it really is fun to see, because it's kind of the disparity of being able to see everything as us, and then, like, all of the things he must be feeling and thinking in this game is just... In this case, it was quite off, but it just shows just how different a perspective it is when you're in that kind of player's seat.
Well, yeah, it's like... To me, it felt like watching a boxing match, except you've got one guy that, you know, is just way bigger than the other one, and it's just, you know, nothing's happening. It's like, oh man, this is rough, this is brutal the whole time, and then finally gets to it. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of knew that was going to happen. Like, you know, you could feel it, and there was no sense of the tide changing at any point. Hope this game will be different though. So far, XY has been a little bit unfortunate. He has lost like a Reaper and a Hellion for practically nothing, and Oracles again from Nice, and he's following this up with a very fast 4-gate afterwards, and most likely with Blink, I'd imagine, because yeah, he's just... I feel like Nice knows that this is going very well for him already, and yeah, just feeling a comfortable Protoss is not what you want to go up against, but he does have a drop on the other side of the map. this is actually the first time that he's done any sort of aggression on the other side of the map.
Yep, it absolutely is, as the probes are going to pull into this. Widow Mine is going to have an absolute time of its life. That was not the defense I thought it was going to be from Nice, and 4 probes go down. Obviously, Super Battery popped as well, so it's just, energy spent. That's now on cooldown. Not that it's probably going to have an effect on the cooldown, but, energy still spent there, and still some probes lost nonetheless, so... Yeah, definitely not bad from XY. As Nice, we can see that 4th gateway coming up, so he's going to get into that aggressive blink stance with a lot of Stalkers and really looking to pound in some damage on the other side of the map.
This is interesting. I mean, XY, can he do much here with this? No, not really. But he does have another bit of army joining, actually. The Cyclones, they're not as good as they used to be in these kind of skirmishes. They're very, very brittle, and he's just getting bullied again. What's dealing? Probes dying, though, to a random Liberator. 8 probes falling all of a sudden. That is actually huge at this point in time. So almost a bit of a distraction there. Given how bad the first game went for him, I almost thought he was just kind of, I don't want to say throwing, but, just all over the shop. But it was kind of one of those fights that you take to distract, and dealt damage with the Liberator. So well played by XY. He's got himself back in this game and maybe feeling a bit more confident as a result. Yep.
That was, nice play, and it really takes the wind out of Nice's sails too, because now you walked in Stalkers at home, and all of this 4-gate blink pressure is obviously not really now doing anything. The Liberator is just going to re-siege, as the Phoenix was going to guarantee a kill. And we'll get that Liberator going down. And Nice does protect himself on this gateway. He's actually at 5 gates, so a lot of Stalkers available too. And what's he going to do here? Takes the first tank shot, jumps on top of it. So he's just going to send it. SCVs will pull in. Another tank on the high ground should just siege up ASAP. The Stalkers are stuck in a corner, taking a long time to get out. It's a messy series between these two. There's not a single attack that's like going down cleanly, right?
No, and, medevac for good measure just flies over the army where it was. I mean, that was probably a little bit of F2 here, but no, you're absolutely right, Wody. These are definitely the kind of games where I'm just like, I don't know what to say, because I know these players have practiced a lot for this. Like, you have to. You're 2-1 in the group. This means a lot to you. There's obviously a lot at stake here, so I know nerves are abound, but this is one of those times where, I mean, I think Nice is just going to own him right here, right now. But yeah, we've seen better from both these guys. It's got to be said. It's not clean.
Definitely not. Bunker and the tank going down there. Stalk down good, because again, with 5 gateways, you can really reproduce a lot. We're killing a lot of SCVs at the front. Just blink out of range, get another warp in, and honestly, I think Nice is eventually probably looking to overwhelm on this natural expansion. The buy will spread out a little bit. The siege tank comes up the top. Stalkers and the Phoenix going to continue to move all the way to the upper right-hand side. And actually going to go into the main base this time, which, well, at least the tank's somewhat positioned to help over here. But obviously it's not going to be able to protect all the tech labs and, well, anything around the backside of this base.
I like the utilization of the Phoenix, by the way. Like, A for scouting and picking up the tank as well. He used it to clear out the Lib earlier, but that's nice from Nice. And here, I mean, this is just a bit of a disaster series for XY, honestly. Like, this is one that I can imagine that he'd look to forget, or hopefully look to improve from. And he even gets the medevac on his way out with that Phoenix as well.
Yeah, Phoenix has actually been pretty darn good, as a 17 worker lead sits in place for Nice. He maybe doesn't have the army supply in his favor too much anymore, but he's on his way to charge Temple Archives, and obviously he has the economy to really just... yeah, he really just has the setup to kind of just wait. I mean, it's just not like XY is going to get across the map suddenly and be able to do a whole bunch of anything. So yeah, looking good.
Yeah, and now Nice has got the Terran where he wants him. Like, 2 base setup, he's been brutally wounded, and Nice has really been hammering on quite a few probes up until this point, behind all the aggression, and you do see a setup. He's on 3 gases, and he's got pretty damn solid saturation across the board. Even though it's only 54 probes, he's got all the minerals that he can get, practically. And the amount of gateways that he has online, soon to come online, it's a lot. I think he's just going to kind of wait for his opponent to try and take a third, and just absolutely blitz him with a bunch of Zealots, some Archons as well. He doesn't really have to worry too much, and XY, he's caught in a really bad spot. I wonder if that Phoenix got to see that just then. Maybe got a little glimpse, or not, but...
I think if he saw it, he might have chased it just to force the unload and reload or something, but Yeah. He would be moving something in position. He's moving nothing at all right now, so looks as though he doesn't know.
XY does feel that it is getting to a time to put that third to good use, though, as or rather try and take a third. But I'm not sure he can. I'm really not sure he can. He does get the full unload off in the main base, but he is going to be greeted by a shield battery, and Nice actually was supply blocked when that first ran in there, so he couldn't do a warp in. That's a lot of zealots. That is a lot of zealots.
Yeah, if I see this as XY, I'm like, man, the last thing I ever want to do right now is move out of the map, because that's just, how do I ever fight that many zealots out on an open field? Well, yeah, XY, maybe you just don't have a choice anyways. He did get nice supply block there for a few moments, but as he builds 2 more libs and he continues to produce units, he's obviously just going to send it off 2 bases, but I just cannot see in a world where that's going to be okay with that many zealots that are just going to run in and surround.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what's going to happen here. So we got Nice on 4 bases with pure charge lot Archon. 36 zealots. He has the same number of zealots as there are Marines on the field. 36 versus 37. Which is so funny. He's working off double forge here, and XY, the little drop that he had is, getting taken out by 1 zealot. Like, I don't know what I'm watching, Wardy. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, this is really, really genuinely kind of silly, right? As Zealots, Stalkers, and Archon all moving out the front, and this army of XY is going to begin to move across towards the upper left side. Yeah, it's big, but well, you know what? It's big. I almost feel as though there might be some world in which he actually just somehow kills all the Zealots, and the Knight has nothing, like, maybe, because it's been one of those series so far where I guess it's just not gone the way it should. Let's see. Knight's going to dive in. Somehow he makes the flank actually come from all one direction. As we're going to jump on forwards here, we're going to see the Bioforce getting wrapped around. The single Phoenix is like, yep, I got this, boys. We lift up the tank, and he is going to wipe this out. Everything will go down apart from the units that evacuate. It was fine for Knight. Like I say, he came down 2 different ramps, and he just went too soon, so he didn't even get the surround on the army. So a little bit funny. Doesn't matter. He literally just has that much stuff. GG, says XY. And Nice is going to take this series 2-0 in the match that determines who goes to playoffs. So XY will have to go for one more match.